Hello everybody, and welcome to the Apple Exchange's tutorial videos on how to use your Mac. Today, we're going to go over Mac Mail. We're going to go ahead and start with a completely fresh Mac Mail, and I'm going to give you an idea of how it works from setup to use. Let's go ahead and get started. First, to find the application Mail. By default, it will appear in your dock as you see here, or you can click your applications file, go down to Mail, and launch it from there. When you first open Mail for the first time and you don't have any mailboxes set up, it's going to ask you to add a mail account. If you have iCloud, you're going to use Microsoft Exchange, Google, Yahoo, AOL, or another mail account. You can choose the option as appropriate. For this video, I'm going to go ahead and use a Google account. Now it's going to ask you for your full name, your email address, and your password. After you enter in the information and type in your password, it's going to automatically log into your account. You can select to choose just to sync mail and contacts, sync mail, contacts, and calendar, sync mail, contacts, calendar, and use for iMessaging, as well as add notes to all of it. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and choose mail. Click done. After you click done, it's going to go ahead and start importing all of your mail. Depending on how many messages you have, this can take quite some time. You'll notice on the left-hand side bar is your mail listing, so all your messages will appear here on this side. When you select a message, then you'll actually get a preview in what's called the preview pane. And again, this is the default look of Mac Mail. For me, I usually have multiple accounts or have multiple things set up, so I like to click this little button on the side that says Show. This expands your folder view as well as any other accounts you may have added. Now let's go ahead and get started in getting some of the nitty-gritty of mail. To start with the Mail tab, you have the About Mail, which will give you the direct version of the mail you're using, Preferences or Settings, the current accounts you have set up, provide feedback for the mail application, add another email account, services, to hide the mail, to hide all others, and to quit mail. We're going to start with the Preferences panel. When you launch Preferences, you'll see you actually get a pretty intuitive menu. You have across the top categories, as well as settings within that category. For example, we're on the General category, and these are all the general settings that we can select. I like to make sure the check for new messages is set to automatically. Otherwise, this can either drain your battery if you're on a MacBook Pro, or sometimes not push all of your mail properly. You can change the ringtone style. You can show the dock on red count, so if you get a message, down in the dock where you have your mail icon, it'll actually appear with a little red circle in the number 1 or 2 or 3, however many messages you may have. I like notifications to only appear in my inbox only, but I can choose for all kinds of different things. Add invitations to calendar, never, but you can select it for automatically, so if someone sends you an invite, it will add it to your calendar. When you download messages, you can choose to either just store it in your downloads or choose a separate folder. Remove unedited downloads after a message is deleted. You can change this to when mail quits or never. If an outgoing server is unavailable, show list of alternative servers. As long as you're using pretty basic accounts, you'll never have to worry about this option. But what I would do in the case of having only one email account is automatically try sending later. And then when searching all mailboxes, include results from trash, junk, and encrypted messages. Keep in mind, if you check junk, it is going to search through your junk and display anything that may fit the criteria of your search. Encrypted messages is used very rarely, so I wouldn't really worry too much about checking that box. We're going to go ahead and go over the Accounts tab. In the Accounts tab, on the left-hand column, we'll list any mail accounts you have set up. In this column, you can either remove or add another account. When one is highlighted, such as Google IMAP, which is the Gmail account I just set up, the first tab will give you account information. It'll tell me when that it's enabled, what type of account it is, the description of the account, which I can change. So say if I wanted to say, I could set it up like that. So instead of it saying Google in the left-hand column, it'll actually say Jesse's personal. Your full email address, your name that you're using, your incoming mail server, your username and password. Your outgoing mail server is going to say Gmail. If it is a Google account, you will not want to change this, and you will also want to make sure the checkbox for use only this server is also checked. Now we'll go over mailbox behaviors. These are just little tweaks and twerks that you can move within your mail to have certain things set up differently. For example, drafts. Store drafts on messages. For example, drafts. Store draft messages on the server. This means if you create a message on your computer and don't send it yet and save it as a draft, it'll also save over Google Server, so any other device you may have synced with that same email address can have access to that draft and send it whenever they want to. Sent messages. This is to store the sent messages on the server. If this box is unchecked, everything you send you'll only be able to view from your Mac, not any other devices you may have synced, and not an actual Gmail server. Delete sent messages when. I like to leave this option as never, but if you want to delete them when they're a certain age, you can, or when you quit mail. Junk mail. Store junk messages on the server. This means when your junk mail comes in, instead of it just staying on your computer, it does go device-wide. This is really up to you on how you want to handle that one. And delete junk messages, I like to say 1 day old, just because I don't like junk piling up and I don't check junk personally, so it happens. For your trash, some of these settings are not going to be able to be edited, and that's actually determined by your server itself. Permanently erase deleted messages when, again, you can choose the day, never, or quitting mail. I like to choose never for this one actually, just because if I accidentally put something in the trash and I go to find it later, at least I know it's there. Junk mail. This is the junk mail settings that you have available to you. I usually say always leave enable to junk mail filtering. If you take this off, anything that comes in that could be junk will go straight to your inbox as if it were a regular message. When junk mail arrives, you have the option to mark as junk mail but leave it in my inbox, move it to the junk mailbox, which is the option I prefer, and perform custom actions. And this would be, you could configure this in an advanced method to make special rules or anything you'd like. The following types of messages are exempt from mail filtering, junk mail filtering. Sender of messages in my contacts. I like to leave this checked because some of the contacts I have are from businesses, and when they send me a message, I don't want it to be enabled as junk. Sender of messages in my previous recipients. This means people that you've emailed back and forth, whether they're in your contacts list or not. I also like to leave this checked. Message is addressed using my full name. This option is really not necessary. I'll leave it checked for my purposes, but you may want to remove it because junk mail will address it to you if they have the access to that information. Now, trust junk mail headers and messages. This means you'll actually be able to see the information in the left-hand column of what the junk mail contains. If you uncheck this box, it'll just leave this blank with just the title. And then it'll say filter junk mail before applying my rules. I like to leave this unchecked because I do set some special rules for junk mail, and I'd actually like it to go ahead and run my rules before filtering for junk mail. Fonts and colors. Fonts and colors gives you pretty much complete access of what it looks like, the color of the mail itself, what font it's in, and what size it is. You can edit these just by clicking select and scrolling through the font books, or anything like that for which you may want to change. Viewing. This is going to give you your view tab and how your mail application actually looks. I personally really like the default look, minus the showing my mailboxes, but you can go through here and kind of play with these settings to decide what you like or don't like. Composing messages. For message format, I like to leave it as rich text just because it looks a lot better for myself. I do like to check spelling as I type, but you can choose it when I click send or never. Automatically CC.
Automatically CC would mean, if this box is checked, every time you send a message, it's going to send you a copy of that message to yourself. This could be a good feature for somebody who really wants to keep tabs on the messages they're sending, as well as make sure the other people are receiving them. Addressing. When sending to a group, show all members' addresses. Say if you wanted to send out a big email blast and you didn't want every person that you're sending it to see the other people, you could uncheck this option. I leave it checked just because that's not really a big deal with me. If you want to be notified of specific email addresses that are emailing you, you would not put them in this box. But if you check this option, you can add a barrage of @thedomain.com, for an example, @apple.com, and everyone you put in here will not get a special marking on them. Anyone that's not listed will give you a special mark when they come into your inbox. Send new messages from account of selected mailbox. If you have multiple inboxes, you can select a special account that will always compose messages from. For example, if I were to set up my work mail and a few other mailboxes, I would choose which one I use most appropriately and go ahead and set it to that one. For this example, since I only have one account, I'm going to have it automatically send from my only email set up. Responding. Use the same message format as the original message. This means if someone were to send you a message in plain text, your response would automatically be in plain text. I don't like to check this option just because, again, I do like the rich text look. Quote the text of the original message. This means when you click respond, it'll automatically include the sender's message underneath yours. I like to leave this option on just in case someone forgets what they emailed me when I answer. Increase quote level is just specifically related to the same concept of quoting the sender's message. I usually just go ahead and leave this checked because it does change the color of it as well as modify it slightly to really tell that it's a different message. When quoting text and replies or forwards, you have the choice to include all of the original message text, selected text, if any, otherwise include all text. I like to leave this option checked because I don't like to select text or go through any special measures when I'm responding. I like to just click respond and have it include everything that the previous person sent to me. A big thing that we use in mail quite often is signatures. In Mac, you do this in this preference pane under signatures. Here you'll see I have 0 signatures set up. But if I did want to set one up, the first thing I would do is click on the account I want it set up for. For example, the Google account, Jesse's Personal, is the only one I have set up now. Then I'll click the plus sign. The first thing that pops up in the next column, it says signature number 1. You want to name the signature something that would identify to you. I'm going to just name mine personal sign. Then in the next column is where you can choose your formatting and how it's laid out. Next tab is going to be rules. This is where you can add rules, delete rules, edit rules, and anything you may want specially done in your inbox. To add a rule, you can just click add rule. You'll name a description of it. This one I'm just going to put test as a demonstration. Now you can choose if any or all of the following conditions are met. You can choose any recipient or a barrage of options that are listed here. For example, if I chose subject, contains, does not contain, begins with, ends with, or is equal to, I'm going to leave it with contains. And in here, I'm going to just put now. So if any messages coming in with the subject that contains now, it's going to move the message automatically to, and you can choose where you want it to go. I'll just say junk for now for demonstration purposes. And you also have the option to copy message or set a color and etc. Then you'd click OK to save this rule. That's the preference pane. Next is kind of your standard run-of-the-mill menu selections. For example, if I click File, I get the option for a new message, to open up a whole nother instance of the mail application, to open the selected highlighted message in the second column, to close the current window, to close every window that I do have open in Mail, to save the selected message as, to import mailboxes from another Mac or Mbox files, export the current message as a PDF, and print the current message. Under Edit, again, kind of run-of-the-mill, cut, copy, paste, delete, select. What you want to do with attachments, find something special, spelling and grammar, where you can check spelling, show special grammar and settings. Substitutions will work once you actually are in a message composition. Transformations are also during a message composition. Speech, this is to have voiceover automatically read to you. Starting dictation, again, would have voiceover kick in, and when you moved your mouse over it, it would read whatever your mouse was hovering over, and any special characters you may need in message composition. View is quick editing for the way that the actual application looks. Mailbox is specific settings for the current mailbox you're in. Message, send again, reply, reply all, and again, kind of run of the mill here. Format, this is where you can show certain fonts, show certain colors, change the way things are listed in a composition of a mail. For example, if you wanted to make a bulleted list, you type everything out, highlight the text you want bulleted, and click Insert Bulleted List. The style, again, this will also come into message composition for formatting. If you want a certain part of it bold, you'd highlight it and select bold. Alignment would let you choose how you want it aligned as far as a message composition. Indentation is also for message composition, where you can increase or decrease how much indentation you have if you're writing, say, a letter or a paragraph. Quote level, again, is in message composition. You can choose how much of the text is shown. You can either increase it to the full amount, decrease it to a selected amount, etc. And if you are writing in plain text, you can highlight it and make it rich text. Window, very run-of-the-mill, same kind of activity that you have there. And help, if you have any questions about help. In the mail application itself, we'll go over a few of the icons here and how it works. We'll start in this corner here where it says Get Mail. This is basically like a send and receive. By clicking Get Mail, it's going to go ahead and go out to the server, pull in any messages you don't currently have, or if you have something waiting to be sent, it'll send the message. New message, pretty self-explanatory. By clicking this, it's going to launch up a new message praying for you to type a message. Delete would delete the selected email. Mark it as junk would be the selected email. Reply to the selected email. Reply all if there's multiple recipients on the selected email. Forward the selected email, or flag the selected email as whatever color flag you may want. On this side is a search box where it'll actually, again, search your entire inbox, trash, and anything else you may have selected and display the results. And in the columns here, you have the option for your inbox, your drafts, sent messages, any junk mail, your trash bin, as well as special folders you may have set up. Thank you for tuning into the Apple Exchanges tutorial videos. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.